So welcome, everybody. My name is Scott Memhard. I'm the Ward 1 Gloucester City Councilor and Chair of our Budget and Finance Committee here in the city of Gloucester. And with me is Councilors at Large Tony Gross, Council President, and Councilor at Large Patty Ann Page, constituting the Budget and Finance Subcommittee of the Council. And I'm going to just ask people to go around the room and introduce themselves just for the ease of room. So, Ben, how are you?
Ben Lummis, School Superintendent.
Emily Siegel, I'm Executive Director of the Gloucester.
Peter Williamson, Grants Administrator, Community Development.
Corporal, CFO. And Gloucester City Auditor.
Do we have anybody online? I don't have my computer up.
I don't know, I'll tell you in a second.
Got most everybody here in person. So again, this is the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. The date is March 5th, 2026. We're in the first floor conference room at Gloucester City Hall, as well as being online via Zoom. And I've announced the names of all those in attendance. So except for, I'll recognize if anybody else comes in on our Zoom connection. We've got a full agenda this evening, and in courtesy to the school folks, why don't we take item number 6, or item number 5 first, which is the memorandum from our school superintendent regarding the city council's consideration of the O'Malley Courtyard project. And turn the floor over to you, Ben.
Great, thank you for taking us out of order. I really appreciate that.
You got better things to do this evening.
Anyway, Emily and I are here to give you an update on a really amazing and very exciting project. And we gave you this presentation in the memo. We have copies for it if that's helpful.
Greg Catavatore, our planning director, with us. Thank you. Greg.
Good evening, councillors.
We'll share a link of we have a video too that shows, but not sure we can actually do that. But we'll share a link of you, and what that video shows is just some of the excitement around this project from students and staff and family sort of stuff that is really worthwhile look at to view rather, because you get a sense of the possible impact and also the optimism hope folks have around the notion of sort of recreating the corner.
My optimism and hope is welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to begin with the
It's up to you. I can start if you'd like. So Ben and I are both here because it's been a collaborative effort from day one between the school district and the Gloucester Foundation to figure out if this is a viable project for GEF to fund and for the district and city to execute. So why the O'Malley Courtyard? GEF is celebrating 20 years this school year. We had a big gala back in November to celebrate that milestone. And for quite some time leading up to our 20th year, we looked around for what is a big, bold project we can take on to capitalize on this milestone and the goodwill the community has towards the work GEF has done. And we wanted to do something that would impact every student every day in whatever school or schools we were working with. We fund all kinds of things, 25 to 30 initiatives a year, and some of them fund hundreds of kids at a time, support hundreds of kids at a time. Some of them are little handfuls of kids, pilot programs. We knew for this project we wanted to do something big that would impact a critical mass of kids. So O'Malley is an obvious choice. It is deeply in need of lots of things. But the first thing you see when you get to that school is that really awful 0.8 acre concrete slab out front. And there's just such an obvious need for improvement. We need a more functional, welcoming space for students, for staff, for families, and for the community, really in that order. That space, I will say, as somebody who represents our schools as a partner, it is one of the first things that comes up for people. Is like, what is that cracked concrete outside of our middle school? And when I hear people in the school sometimes refer to it as the playground, literally people in the school will say, oh, the playground out front. And like, what playground? There's no playground. It's not meeting the needs of students, staff, families, or community at all. So it's also a good fit for GEF because it's a big upfront capital investment. It doesn't have ongoing staffing costs associated with it. There's maintenance, as there is with any school facilities project, but it doesn't have staffing costs in perpetuity, which is not something that GEF as a private foundation likes to take on. Although we do sometimes see fund new positions in the district. It's highly visible. That was really important to us. We considered at one point doing either the O'Malley or GHS auditorium. Those weren't selected for a big project for us for a bunch of reasons, some of them financial. Those are big undertakings, but also like they're tucked away inside of buildings. We want to do something that's visible, that people will immediately feel transformed and feel a change when they see it. We think that a lot of folks, we thought at the onset of this last spring, and we know now, 8 months later, that this is something that a lot of people could get behind. Parents, businesses, alumni, foundations, a lot of people have a vested interest in this space being more functional, more welcoming, more aesthetically pleasing, although it's not a landscaping overhaul, it's something much deeper than that. We know that this project is well positioned to tap into lots of different funding sources because of that support, private, public, foundation, corporate, some state and potentially CPA dollars. And we think it's an investment that's going to serve Gloucester for many, many years to come. This is a generational project that we are doing and looking at a 20 to 30 year lifespan for this renovation. Budget meeting?
Yep.
So I'll start with sort of a recap of what we've done so far, and then I'll have Ben pick up. So GEF began exploring this in partnership with the district last spring. We initially, very first meeting was with Ben to say, is this something, we know there's a need, but is this something that fits in with the district priorities? Ben was like, what? You want to do this? We said, yes. So
that was what of disbelief, not
Yes.
immediate support.
yes.
Yeah.
So consultation with the district, but with GF's board, with our student advisors, we work with high school students that work in a paid stipended role with GEF to be the student perspective. All of our student advisors went through O'Malley universally. It's like, please, yes. And we started by doing student surveys last spring. Mike Titus, who's very supportive of the project, principal of O'Malley, administered a student survey. We got 482 responses, had an awesome GHS alum who's now a sophomore in college, serving an internship last summer, helping us crunch that data and identify what students said they were interested in. We did focus groups before the school year ended last year with both students and staff to sort of dig into some of what we heard. Big things that emerged: more space for outdoor classes, outdoor learning, get kids out of the building, out of classrooms without windows, into fresh air to learn, better seating, more shade, and more space to play. Like middle school students, adolescents need to play. It's a different kind of play than our elementary kids do, but they need to play. Staff really wanted to make sure it's a student-driven, student-centered design. They said, please don't let the adults come in and make all the decisions, and then the kids don't recognize any of their own ideas in it, which resonates really deeply with GEF's mission. Very interested in more outdoor teaching as students were interested in outdoor learning. They did raise sort of concerns about like, how will it be maintained? It looks like a big space when it's empty, but when there's 200 kids using it at recess, it's not that big. So how will you think creatively about how to use this space, which was really helpful. We looked at past efforts to revitalize the space. We are not the first people to say this is a space that needs improvements. We looked at architectural drawings from 15 years ago. We looked at Mac Bell's insane folder of photographs and drawings from the 1990s to improve the space, to see what people have considered. We shared the idea pretty early on with Mayor Verga, with interim CAO Schlichty, and a preliminary conversation with the school committee, a presentation last June. And at that point, the GEF board said, we need a feasibility study. Like, we're at the point where we know people are interested, but we need to know what can be done, what it will cost. And so GEF engaged a landscape architect firm, Agency Landscape and Planning. They are absolute national leaders in two things we need: revitalizing dead urban plazas and creative play spaces for youth. So they're based in Cambridge, but do work nationwide and are real leaders in the field. So they came to sort of visit the space with Ben and I and give kind of an informal assessment. And then GEF hired them to do feasibility. So I'll let Ben talk about the feasibility study.
Yeah. So in order to, as Ellie just said, in order to move this forward, we have some sense of what the scope was, some sense of is it doable, both in terms of our interests and what we've learned from staff and from students, but also is it in the realm of possibility in terms of finance and in terms of funding. So as Emily said, GF hired Agency Landscaping and Planning. And the feasibility study included a site analysis, some concept design options, draft plans with visuals, which would help with fundraising, and then cost estimates and phasing. Typically, at this point, you don't often have the cost estimates, but that was crucial for this. That concept was, I'm not sure if we go through the different components of the concept, but and the development, got that. And but one of the key things we did was from some initial ideas, brought three different sort of initial ideas or sort of concepts to staff and to students and to families, and had these focus groups where we got a lot of input and feedback about what of each one was the best, or really spoke to you, or really was meaningful, and that came up with some guiding principles, basically, that whole process through the feasibility study there, and I'll just go through them on there. It's lightest touch, biggest impact. So how can we have a big impact on the space, but not go the whole 9 yards? Meaning we have limited funding, or GF's going to raise a certain amount of funding, which will be a lot for them, but also it has limitations. For us in the school, every student, every staff, every day. This is a piece of the school that every student touches, or every single day. Staff are involved there, and that's and therefore it needs to serve a variety of purposes. Innovation outdoors. So how can you create a lot of different possibilities for this outdoor space, but be innovative in the use? Because as Emily said, it's 0.8 acres, which isn't all that much, but we have a lot of different reasons for a lot of different purposes that students want to achieve. We want to achieve with it and student use. And then another piece that's really important is durable. We can make something that's beautiful and it's not durable and has to be redone in a matter of years. Concrete is there's a spectrum on these things, right? Concrete pad is the most durable, perhaps, but at least functional. And they get something very functional, but then just wears out in no time. And we have to, as a school, this will get lots of use. Okay, those schools aren't easy on things, so we really have to be conscious about both durability and maintenance. So we got to keep that in mind as well.
1,200 feet. That's what 1,200 feet, not measurement feet, but 1,200 feet every day, counting that surface.
Yeah.
600 plus kids, 1,200 feet.
Yeah. And then in terms of what we learn about what to use for is this variety of uses. So physical activity, obviously, okay, there's plenty. If you go there during lunchtime or before or just after school, you see a lot of physical activity. Kids running around, playing sports, informally. Social connection. Middle school, I like to say middle school students like to clump. Okay, they might be moving clumps of kids or sitting clumps of kids, or at the middle court right now, they're sitting on the ground clumps of kids, but they like to clump, and that's their social connection. So that's really important spaces in this that are good for that. Quiet reflection, so a place where they can move away, because not all middle school kids like the crowd. Okay, and so places where they can get away from in smaller groups or individually. Collaborative learning, so how do you create a space that has learning, it can allow for staff and students to come out of the building and learn together in an outdoor setting. And then also connection to place. There's an anchor on that icon there because the anchor that's in the Middle Courtyard, it has a lot of history in Gloucester about meeting at the anchor for lots of different reasons, some good, some bad. But also we want to make sure that whatever redesign happens, whatever transformation of the space happens, is connected to Gloucester. Connected to O'Malley and its history, but also Gloucester as well. So we're going to show you, remember these, when do you want to talk through these? Or
We can do it now.
okay, great.
Yeah. So the concept slide in the presentation and these draw from the same graphics, they're formulated a little bit differently. But essentially what you'll see in the concept, and this might be the best one to look at.
Okay.
So agency, as Ben said, sort of took all the feedback and came up with one sort of coherent concept that is has sort of different zones for formal active recreation. So some new courts, colorful courts, durable courts, but the new courts for like formal recreation, places for passive recreation, sitting. So there's a ton of benches. There's new trees, different kinds of seating. There's a grove, which you'll see, and you can see it on there, but bringing in outdoor tables and seating so that there can be outdoor classes in an area with natural shade. There is, I think the thing that the kids were most excited about, and probably also the staff, is this idea of an adventure hill. So,
That's this part.
yeah, so
It looks
changing
like
the
this.
topography of the space, so it's like just that flat expanse, which is like windy and not very comfortable. So the adventure hill, it's not that high. I think it's like 4 to 5 feet at the highest point. But the idea is that it'll have a flat top that will have turf, and then sloping sides with lots of different ways to get up, logs, steps, different ways to get up to the top. And that top part can be used for a class to sit in a circle. It could be used for kicking a soccer ball. It could be used for some kids to just chill out, which is needed in middle school. But it will sort of change the layout of the space. Staff like it because they have limitations on how many staff are out there at a time during a time like recess when it's really busy and you're really, as an adult, you're out there from a safety perspective. This hill will allow one adult to have a nice 360 view of the space and their colleagues scattered around to be able to monitor the different areas. And then the back side of the adventure hill has terraced seating that faces the courts. And this is something that staff was also really excited about. That terrace seating is estimated it can fit about 80 kids. So a house, right? There's a house system at O'Malley where the kids are divided up. So you can have a house meeting out there. You could have a small performance out there. You could have adults sitting and kids out on the court playing. So just like a different kind of classroom space. And agency was really careful not to actually make a formal outdoor classroom. There's nothing out there that, like, if you look up outdoor classroom in Google, will look like that. Very deliberate. Outdoor classrooms are very single use. They wanted everything to be very flexible and modular. So rather than having, a set of tables or chairs, like they wanted things that could be used for all different purposes. Because as Ben said, people use this space for a lot of different things. I think another real benefit of the concept they came up with is that it's very attractive from a community perspective. The new hockey rink up at State Fort Park is awesome, but we lost some really nice basketball courts. So to have courts down here that the community can use on the weekends, to have space that like kids and adults are going to want to hang out on the weekends. The rink is one of the most visited places in Gloucester. If you have kids in Gloucester, you spend a lot of time at the skating rink. So the idea that like you would be greeted at the skating rink, so even if you have nothing to do with O'Malley, with a beautiful functional community space, I think is really appealing to a broad swath of people above and beyond the staff and faculty in the building.
Any questions about the certain areas here? You see, so this is an overview, sort of, this is a sort of a bird's eye view, where it sort of describes a different piece, but anything you see that you want to know more about or ask questions about.
Have you been able to incorporate irrigation into this plan? Is that necessary?
It will be, there's already irrigation now. I'm not an expert on this at all. There already is, and then we would tap into the existing systems underneath. Part of that in the schematic design stage is looking into things exactly like that, getting under the ground. And that'll happen in schematic design, which is the next phase. Other questions about what we're doing? This just one thing I like is this is a half court basketball. This can be basketball or futsal, which is like a smaller version of soccer. Oops. Which is nice to have both of those out there these days. Right now, there's 2 basketball courts and 3 basketball hoops, which doesn't add up actually. So that's the basic concepts. Any other questions about just what you see here, or even what you like about what you see here?
So you've gone through a very inclusive process, and as a result, that's a wide range of things that we clearly appeal to different constituencies here. Serving.
Great. That definitely is one of the goals, obviously. So in terms of what comes next, so the school committee has approved to move into design phase. There's some debate about whether we need a vote from the city council to do that. We're going to talk a little bit about the process. We certainly would support, would appreciate your support on it. Not sure we need a official vote just on this step, but we can talk that through. Schematic design comes next. There's a bunch of different levels of design process here. Schematic design, and that goes to a certain level, and at that point you can really cost it out, and then design development, and then which is another layer of detail in terms of design, and then ultimately construction documents. So that's about a 10-month process, and that gets you to a point where then you can bid it. Okay. Construction is anticipated to take about 8 months. So of course we can't do it in one summer because it's going 2 months long. So the anticipated, the anticipated sort of timeframe would be March to October, a year from now is the sort of optimistic and aggressive timeline. So it'd be pretty ambitious. It might be more realistic to look at spring 2028. In terms of, do you want to talk about funding and then we talk about the relationship between the three different entities, the schools, the city, and you?
Sure. So GEF, we sort of launched this at our gala in November publicly as sort of something we're working on and raised an initial chunk of money. We at this point have raised everything needed for the design phase, which is great. And we are now actively fundraising for the construction phase. We are a very small organization with one full-time staff member. We have a terrific campaign committee of 10 members that have come together to raise the $3 million that we estimate we need for the soup to nuts. So to fund the whole design phase, all of construction, and then all of the OPM, contingencies, permits, all the things around it. This concept agency's subcontractor, CHA, who did the cost estimate, estimated the concept, again, it's not designed yet, but the concept at 1.5 to 2 million for construction. The $500,000 discrepancy is about whether an additional small parcel of the courtyard will be developed. I didn't go throrough what they had slated for that.
Over here.
Yeah, but it's that piece, that's sort of that extra $500,000 based on how much we can raise. But that has that construction budget has some contingency built into it. So we are actively beginning the sort of hard work of finding the other $2.5 million to build it. The first $500,000 or almost $500,000, 455, wasn't that hard to find. We had a big gala. We had a couple big donors step up after that. But now this next $2.5 million is going to be some work. So we're very fortunate to have a great committee that's come together. So Maggie Rosa and myself are co-chairing it. Lindsay Coolidge is our honorary chair. Lindsay obviously has a strong philanthropic background, but also has been on many building committees for including for the Y. And then our members, Kathy Clancy, Jeff Testino, Joel Favaza, Leslie Friday, Ruth Pino, Rachel Rafalo, all have incredible skills, talents, networks, and really creative ideas about how to pull the money together for this. So, so GDF's primary role in this is funder. We've been up until this point, like spearheader, catalyst, project manager. Ben's going to talk about roles moving forward, and some of those roles are going to come off of GDF's plate so we can focus on finding that money.
So ultimately, this is a city and schools project, but it's being funded by GDF. And so there's like different operational pieces and also permitting and also approval processes that are connected to that. So just in terms of, you'll see a slide that has a bunch of circles on it. So the city is the sort of design and construction client and their property owner. And they're all obviously the steward of the long-term asset. We, the schools, are primary end user, and we are, involved in defining educational programmatic needs and also the connection to the students and staff and families. So in terms of the design, making sure it's fitting their needs and our needs. GEF is the fundraiser and community advocate. DPW will have to be very deeply involved in the planning process and the design process because they're the experts on durability to some degree, but also maintenance and operations going forward. Okay. And then agency landscape and planning is the designer that's been hired by GDF to complete the design phase.
So actually be hired by the city design phase.
Sorry, but hired by the city, right? Hired by the city. Right. They've done hired by GF to do the schematic and then hired by the city to do the design.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar, OPM?
Oh, owner's project manager. So and typically any clerk of works is a better, it's a more common name for it. But it really helps that company. And in talking to Mike Hale, it's most likely we would go with the city's on-call owner's project manager. So that helps us with the time frame, but also make sure we're abiding by all the procurement processes. And they really help connect the different players to make sure we're all working together to stay on schedule and then do some of the permitting and sort of things as well. So it's a and also they're involved with making sure we are hitting all the correct permitting, all the approval process or stuff, because there'll be approvals from the city and also the schools, basically, particularly around, accepting the grants from the grants from GEF will be coming to the city, not the schools, okay? We're already in the process of working with Suzanne Egan, the city general counsel, on creating a memorandum of agreement among the three partners to make sure responsibilities and roles are clear. Also make sure that, and then from there, if the funding is approved from the foundation, then move into a contracting with the agency to begin the design process. So those are sort of the steps moving forward. I think I got all that right. In terms of, so the school committee has sort of given the approval to continue the design process. That can happen at the city council, step, and that's why we're here. And that at this point, but the real important piece is actually accepting the grant funding, which will come to you at your next meeting. And that's the sort of the formal process that has to be done. That allows the city to move forward into the contracting phase with the designer.
Sense, Ben, can I,
Yeah.
why does the city council have to accept it? They don't accept any other grants?
Because because the money's going to the city, not to the schools.
Why?
Because the city will contract with the design contract will be through the city, so it's the schools.
For like a library project. Well, no, because the school committee is in charge of buildings. They can put the maintenance out, but statutorily, they are in charge with providing students with a, safe, place to learn.
But the control of the buildings and the grounds themselves, I believe, are city.
That's
Um,
only
and-
because we're allowed to do that. Give the city, have all maintenance of city buildings under one roof rather than having a separate facilities department like we used to have. But the school committee has domain over the buildings.
Yeah, so the school committee will continue to, so the grant letter as it's worded now is directed to me and the mayor. Okay, so school committee will continue to give its okay, and we'll check with them and get approval from all the way along. But I'm going on what Suzanne Egan has told us, okay, I'm not really. So,
Pose
but
that question to her.
yeah, but the crucial piece from her standpoint is that the contract and the funding is through the city. So because I understand it's a city project in terms of control of the grounds, that sort of thing, and then rather than us. And it's also crucial to have it.
So let me do an example here. Gloucester High School, purview, school committee, Rural Stadium is under the purview of the city, because so that shows you where there's a definite line between the two. This would be under, so I'm not, I mean,
I think
I will talk to Suzanne.
Yeah, in our conversations, Newell's come up as being the comp.
Except for it's not, because Newell Stadium was always owned by the city. Never was a school facility. It was always a city facility.
Yeah, that's why I would know
So that's the difference.
that.
But I will.
Yeah.
Ask those questions to people.
I think there is some, I think,
Yes, we can streamline it.
yeah, no, I think that's right. I do know that Suzanne was quite clear about the money going through the city, and therefore city council needs to do that. And I think that's because the city is going to be contracting with the designer, and then ultimately, the construction manager as well. But again, I think that's something that should she then be at?
Because I know school buildings have to be declared surplus by the school committee before or anybody else can take any action on it.
And what we expect to do is have both boards approve every step. That's, and that's a little bit of belt and suspenders, but it's for two different purposes. One has the programming aspect of it and sort of signing off on that. And the other one is signing off on the finance and the finance aspect, the money aspect.
Yes, Councilor Gross's question come down whether the plaza is a part of the school building
It is.
or could be carved out as a separate parcel
The school would have to
With
declare
the-
that
with-
surplus.
with the rink.
The rink is part of the school building too, because it was a learning center.
The rink has been, yeah, absolutely.
Your memory goes back too far.
Only the maintenance and enterprise.
It's, so the rink is part of
Right, but I don't think that it's, I think it's still school property.
that's what I recall back in 2011. With an MOU, because the school did have facilities budget within their operating budget.
I know.
Then it was taken out.
Right, but that's strictly maintenance.
No,
I thought it was for those, I thought it was the upkeep.
It is.
It was for, because I remember at the time. And I think maybe, I don't remember. if we were
I
there.
remember, it's, Councilor Kukrow was the chairman of the BNF at the time, Carolyn Kirk was the mayor.
Yeah,
I remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, the city
and
definitely,
then what they did was, from my understanding at the time, the school was focused on education and DPW was taking over the buildings. That's what I remember from the conversation. There's an MOU back in 2011 that the city signed.
Still unsigned.
which I've been,
The city's never signed it.
no, it's not true. They signed once and never revised it because I've been working for 5 years trying to revise it, including giving Mike Hale again, a draft we've been working on for a while, a copy of it today.
It's, I think I think we're talking two separate things, though, ownership and subbing out the maintenance thereof. And possible operations, if, the operations goes into an enterprise account, which is what the rink did. I don't know, maybe they declared the rink surplus at that time. It was built with, SBA money at the time as a learning station, it's partially
Yeah, there was
reimbursed.
a lot of conversation about
Yeah.
that.
So it was part of the, originally built as part of the school. Too much.
Yes.
It sounds like that you have some fair questions that probably we need to clarify out of this
Well,
meeting.
no,
with-
we don't need to have.
With
any of
Suzanne,
this
but
clarified.
those are good issues being cognizant of.
Yeah, and I, having Suzanne come down here now, it's way too deep a conversation.
Like I recall, it's a baseball field there too, and I think DPW, they maintain, like Nate Ross Field, is that? the
Yeah, I
one?
think
It
that's,
was community preservation money also funded for that
What
project.
about the skateboard park?
That's another one, community preservation. The DPW maintains it.
Those are all under control of DPW. Yeah. We don't-
all the maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of that same statute. Says you can break off maintenance.
So,
So what was before us this evening with Ben and Emily is really about whether the Budget and Finance Committee wants to proceed to recommend the city council support this school courtyard project out of
yeah, moving into the design phase.
I'm not saying any
into
formal,
the schematic design. phase.
there's no formal.
No.
We're not gonna vote or anything, right?
It's just, there is a motion, but it's just support.
Motion, a statement of support.
Correct, that's it.
Any other questions?
There's no money, there's no,
Yeah, I'd like to ask,
Yeah.
of course you have DPW involved. Can you just clarify for me, it's just construction, logistics, the DPW is not installing this, you're gonna have, right,
Oh.
this contractors coming in to install,
Yes.
but they will be responsible for future maintenance? Post-construction maintenance?
Yes, yep. Because they're responsible for maintenance and repair of all the school buildings, including grounds.
No,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
I just Want to make sure I understood that correctly, and the funds in this, the Gloucester Education Foundation mission has helped our schools tremendously. The funding though is gonna come from all fundraising and possibly some grants, whether they be city, state or up.
Yeah, the two public funding sources we're looking at are CPA, and you know that's, we're not depending on that money, but
But it's one option.
we're going to pursue it. And then a park grant, which is a state grant that municipalities apply for, which Mike Hale thinks this project is a good fit for. GEF would assist the city in any way on writing the proposal, on pulling together the pieces, all the materials, but that we would do that in partnership with the city. We can't apply for a park grant as a nonprofit, but the city applies.
Okay, I guess not to go roundabout. but none of this comes out of our general fund or any of our funding. It's self-serving, self-sufficient.
That's right, yeah.
And
Sometimes people hear, the interest in public grants or pursuing public funding is, it's dependent on that. It's not dependent on that. That would be a way to reduce the, what GEF has to raise, but it's not dependent. So nice to have. It would be nice to have, and we should pursue what we can in terms of grants, I don't mean operational or general fund.
And we'll be pursuing private foundation grants as well, so for us, it's just another kind of grant.
And what do you think the life expectancy of this building is?
There's two different ways to do it.
700 years.
Is it 20 to 30 years?
Is that,
There's just on the building.
The
About
courtyard.
the
was
building. Building.
Still.
Are we gonna tear this building down in 4 years after we?
Yeah.
Wonderful, Gloria.
I promise you won't. I mean, there's just no.
Like that about before.
I'm a little sensitive about the chairman down again.
Yeah, no, there's no path towards doing that. We, there are two schools that have a much higher priority, which we'll be hearing about next month, okay? They're
I've
much
already
older,
heard about.
yeah, they're older and they're in worse shape. But it's, yeah, it's far away and then we'll see the
You mentioned in your presentation and discussion that your budgeting will provide for maintenance long term.
all the schools maintenance goes to DPW.
All that will be DPW's budget. So that discussion has to be made very clear to the school committee that their budget will be minus a little bit more due to the increased cost of maintenance.
And thus GEF includes that in their fundraising.
We don't plan to.
Okay.
But I just want to clarify what you just said. What you're
I'm saying is that
suggesting is.
this will be less
School-
money overall for the city to be able to spend because this is additional cost for, and it looks like it's a very low maintenance. It's got very small areas to pave. They got irrigation. That'll take care of that kind of issue. So it's very low maintenance. I would suggest not doing anything up in that area, where the future would be so that they can actually plow that, to get rid of snow, so the school can open up quickly. Because this area is gonna have to be handled with kids club. It's not gonna be available after a winter like this. They're out there running around in 2 feet of snow. You
Which
know?
they do. Beeman, I said Beeman, yes, I do the Beeman.
Yeah, so I mean, but it's a really low maintenance, so it's not a lot.
No, but explain to me again, I'm sorry, where this money's coming from?
It'll come
For
from in the
maintenance.
DPW budget.
But from the school
No,
committee?
no, everybody gets the same
It's
amount.
it's
It's one
additional
big pot of money,
Work for GEF.
and then it's just.
Right. Unfunded, you're saying, so there's no transfer of funds from
No,
one.
no, it'll just be in the
Pot.
DPW budget,
Just to acknowledge
and
that.
it just needs to be acknowledged that money's being spent.
Yeah, whenever an improvement's made on city grounds in some way, there's typically, I mean, depending what you do with it, if you create a new, a new playground, there's some maintenance that maybe there wasn't before. When you create a new school, like you said, there's additional maintenance and there wasn't, the 2 prior schools. So this big capital improvement, it's gonna take some more maintenance than just a concrete pad. But we are definitely thinking.
That's all,
Yeah.
but it's minimal. It really, I mean, looking at that, it's not a lot there.
It was designed to be simple,
Yeah.
not too fussy.
Yeah,
A lot of the kids' ideas about, we want flowers and we want, I was like, nope. We're not gonna have flower beds in this. It has to be hardy and durable. They also wanted a McDonald's vending machine and a trampoline park.
Yeah.
Those did not make the cut.
no, I mean, that's
That would
like
add
a well thought out design to keep those costs down.
Yes.
There's a ramp, I'm assuming, going up to that, is that a long ramp?
Yeah, there's a ramp
For
going to the top of the
ADA
hill.
purposes, so that kids with disabilities will be able to get up there.
This is all turf as opposed to grass or anything that's gonna
Yeah.
die, plant these plantings, and then that's why DPW's gotta be involved. Understand what's low maintenance here.
Yeah.
But we have very good examples of low maintenance, like that sorts of things, at East Veterans and West Parish right now.
So
Hardscape.
it's pretty low maintenance.
The designers went to see East Vets over the summer and were very impressed with the outside of East Vets and very impressed with sort of the choice of material.
the stone, the grasses.
Shoot, what maintenances
At
at East Veterans?
East Veterans,
Is there any?
oh yeah, in terms of the landscaping there, there's different pieces in the middle of the parking lot. There's a whole, it's actually a drainage area, but it's also has landscaping and, when I say landscaping, I mean things that grow, okay? But then also, right,
Right.
in the front of the school, there's a combination of grasses and some flowers actually, and then stones. In sort of different parts, and all of
So you're
that.
just talking about general, maybe
It-
twice a year, beginning of.
Well, no, during the
spring, fall.
summertime, they'll have to mow that when they mow everything
Well,
else.
Yeah.
I see, thank you.
It's minimal, so, yeah.
Any other questions?
Very good. And
We
so
don't-
what I figure, you guys are gonna raise all the money before ground gets broken. It's what the target is,
Target.
because otherwise the money has to be somewhere for a PO to get cut.
Yes, we're very well aware of that, and you've
Yes.
heard of recent buildings that were built that way.
Yes, that is not the plan to replicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. the plan
And you
is to-
guys have a really good track record.
Yes.
We do. This is a big project.
It's a big
I'll be
project.
frank about that. Like, this is a lot of
Yeah.
money, and one thing I'm really proud of is that we've been working hard on this for 8 months and we have not backed off of the other work we do. I think there was a concern from the schools, not from Ben, but from
Right,
teachers who we work with of like, is GF gonna put all their eggs in this basket and no longer be pursuing,
right.
donors?
What about
and-
other partners, the project? I mean,
Yeah, so.
will you do a presentation to the Gloucester Rotary?
Oh, I'm a Rotarian, so yes. The nice thing is I won't do it. We have 2 committee members that will step in and do it.
They have such a good track record. State
Yeah,
Park and
and-
playgrounds
yeah.
there.
And Ruth and Joel are both Rotarians, and so they're part of that.
This may not get before the full, we got some pretty full agendas, so. This, you won't be invited to the next meeting at city council to do a presentation, I'm afraid.
I think what the one piece that will go, hopefully for the city council, it's in front of city council on Tuesday, is the.
Yes.
Is the grant.
Yeah, well, that's get to referred out to B and M, so.
No, I forgot, but that's the thing that's really, this is really support as any.
And this is, as, we can wait a little bit to come up with this. I'm just giving you a fair warning.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of heavy agendas
Do
coming.
you think there's any concern that city council wouldn't go for accepting the grant without knowing more about it?
You'll be here next week or in 2 weeks to speak about the grant.
Okay.
And that you will be presenting.
Okay.
So that you will be there presenting. So make it a short one. But yeah, and you send them, what you said, it's in our
Just the
little.
grant letter.
No, sorry, just to be clear, when, in order to get the city council, so we're going to be that first, obviously. And then when we go to city council with the grant approval, do you think the city council will approve the grant without having a deeper or?
No, you're gonna be there to answer questions.
Oh, then, okay,
Yes.
okay, great, I got it.
So it'll be on the agenda for
You-
city council.
You'll supply this,
Yeah.
maybe not have the boards, but we'll be able to put it up on the screen and we'll
Okay.
do a really 5-minute, or whatever is necessary.
Okay, great, okay, so we'll do that, along with the grant.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, absolutely.
And here, for the sake of just moving ahead again, the motion here is for budget and finance to recommend that the city council support to move the O'Malley School Courtyard project into the schematic design phase, and I so move. Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you
all.
very much.
Thank you so
Very
much.
exciting.
Scott.
Yep.
Back in the folk
And we'll-
festival days, we did ice sculpture and
Oh, yeah.
Al Sarabak themed saxophone. We used to have a lot of scope.
There's all kinds of stories of this space over, 50+ years.
But kaleidoscope is sort of like, what you have for the summertime.
Oh, yeah. That's one. Right.
And
Right, that doesn't talk about doing that.
it was that O'Malley that did, but it was not, staff driving it, stuff. It was just people got put out. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll go back to the top of our regular event is posted. And number 1 on our budget finance agenda is considering memorandum from our city auditor and Gloucester regarding the notification of our recap approval.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Recently, DOR approved our balance sheet for fiscal year 25. The great news is that we have positive, free cash and retained earnings. You can also, there's also negative, retained earnings. As we've had that in water and sewer, the last few years, but this is great news. We have positive, in all. So we have, I'm looking at my memo.
Yeah.
So the first numbers, the general fund, 4.1 million. And then the four
I
enterprise
see
funds,
that,
water, sewer, waterways and rent. And then also I also included, a nice chart, 44 years of, free cash. So, the front page tells a great story, right, from fiscal year, 13 to 26 till now.
That's not the same thing.
But if you look at the back,
Yeah, I printed it.
Oh, okay, I got it.
I had to look at it myself.
if you look at the back,
Yeah.
there's a roller coaster ride. So I only do that really to remind
Yeah.
the committee that it hasn't always been beautiful. It also was rocky in the past.
Yeah, man.
So- And just to remind the committee, so in the back, if you look, this is from 1983 to 2011. If you look at fiscal years 6, 7, and 8, it's 0. It's not really 0. It's because at the time we didn't close the books, so we don't know. It was probably negative, but we just don't know.
Ignorance is bliss. In fact,
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, so as you can see, we've had ups and downs from the 80s to the 90s to the, 2000s, but we've had a good run, now.
well, congratulations.
So, yeah, no, and really it's a credit to the finance team, all of us, you know. So, yeah, that's all I have. And the next item is, 7, supplemental appropriations, for free cash.
So that's number 2.
Honors. So unless the committee has any questions. So yeah, so this is,
Yeah, that's-
this is mine.
That's.
That's my part. Yeah,
Okay, that's your part.
that's
How
part
does
2.
that relate to this?
So the first one is to show that it's been approved. So DOR approved our balance sheet. So
This.
that second item there, so Connor's memo can't
This is-
happen until this happens. So this is step 1, that's step 2.
Okay,
So this here, we've submitted the information to DOR and they approved it. And
this one.
correct, yeah, and it was very smooth because I always provide them everything that they need. It's been, for me, I've submitted the balance sheet for the last 15 years. So typically I know what they want. I know what they're looking for. They really had no questions.
As long as we have what they need.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I know last year was a little difficult because we had the negative retained earnings. So they first approved it.
2 enterprise funds.
Yeah, the 2 enterprise funds, the water and sewer was in the negative. So when we have deficits like that, it's a little bit of an issue with DOR to get that approved. They have, they want to make sure that we're going to cure it. We're going to take care of it. And at the time I tried to take care of it through the tax rate. But I wasn't able fully to take care of it. So anything that was remaining, they wanted to hit our free cash, the general fund. Because at the end of the day, the general fund pays for everything. So if there's a deficit in any account, the general fund essentially cures any deficits in other accounts. So if there's a water or sewer, the general fund at the end of the day has to pay for it. Has to take
Water
care of it.
enterprise, green enterprise.
Yeah. But you can't have vice versa. So if there was an issue with the general fund, water, sewer cannot cure that.
Just discrete.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, the general fund can cure any issue, but the enterprise funds cannot cure a general fund issue. So I just want to so that's also,
And this is the general fund, but you've got 4 enterprise funds listed here.
yeah,
Without
It would be helpful perhaps for Councilor Page's benefit if you or Connor could outline the formula that we established during Mike
I know,
Jim Destino's term.
Yeah.
In terms of allocating the free cash.
I know, so Councilor Page's question. So DOR, when they send that out, I've mentioned that to them before in the past. If you look at my memo, it includes each fund. It might be on the other
Got
page.
it, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yep,
so
Thank you.
when DOR approves it, they just put general fund and then they put the 4 enterprise funds. They don't identify which enterprise fund it is.
yeah, all right.
So when you
That's-
look at the detail, when you
That's
show,
what I
when
wanted to
you
know.
look at the calculation, it actually has
Yep.
the amount. So DOR, what they do with the general fund, what they do is they look at our undesignated fund balance, which is our bottom line for that fund. And then what they do is they look at our other funds, like our special revenue funds, they look at our water and sewer. So last year, they did reduce our general fund, free cash amount because we did have a deficit in water and sewer. And then after that whole calculation, that's the amount that's available to be appropriated from now until June 30th. So up until June 30th, we can use those funds and we're using, big piece of it today, supplemental appropriation distribution. So maybe about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, Jim Destino put together a distribution policy. So when free cash is certified, it's already well thought out, it's already planned. So percentage goes to the capital project stabilization fund, general stabilization fund, buildings and maintenance stabilization fund. Yep, OPEB, and then also the short-term rentals, that revenue from the previous year, that goes to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So you'll see a transfer. Yeah, so that way there, because I remember there were years where we would have a certification and then the council and the mayor, they would try to figure out how we were going to utilize these funds. So there was a lot of back and forth. So Jim Destino thought it'd be a great idea. Let's just have a planned process. And the rating agencies, they love it. They love that we have a policy.
And that's what we're looking at right here, the result of that. So
That's the next step.
item number 2 is a memorandum from Chief Financial Officer, Oracle, and then as part of that, 2026 supplemental appropriation number 7, which is the amount of $99,305. Supplemental appropriation 2026 SA 8, in the amount of $1,003,000, $1,003,214. SA number 9, in the amount of $601,928. SA 10, in the amount of $802,571. SA 11, in the amount of $401,286. SA 12, in the amount of $200,643, and SA 26 for SA 13 in the amount of $200,643. And these are all related to fiscal year 2025 free cash certification under the series of specific motions. Acting on each of those transfers.
So I'm texting here, but I'm telling you, sending Mike Hale and Chris Lucido the Zoom link. Because they're out there as attendees, not as participants. So that's what I'm texting. In case people-
So,
You should.
Yeah, maybe I have one.
Yeah,
I'm
always gonna.
Can I ask one more thing? If it's too long, can you just let me know? Okay, I see this number, free cash, general, 4112161.
Correct,
I also see it on this free
Yep.
cash calculation, and here it is here.
correct.
So what do we do? Start with last year's free cash? Minus all these, get down to this.
So that's DOR's formula, how they come up with it. So
Okay.
this number here, this 5.7 million, so in our general fund, that's what's actually left over. So
Like
It's-
from last fiscal year?
think of it this way, so fiscal year, at the end of fiscal year 24,
Right,
whatever the year was over, so whatever we didn't spend, that gets brought forward into fiscal year 25.
right.
And then remember that report that I showed you, the financial report? Remember in the back, it showed the revenues and expenditures. We have positives, we have negatives. So all of that comes up with that number. So,
Oh, right.
so at the end of the year, we had 5.7 positive.
Mhm.
And then,
Then you had some
This-
receivables.
right, so this is now their calculation. What they do is they minus the personal property and the real estate receivables. And then they look at, these are our grants. So we had some grants, a lot of these are timing. So a lot of those are timing. And actually, we actually do, actually Diane in my office does a lot of great work at the end of the year. Sometimes there's school grants that we're waiting for
Okay, that's why.
money to come in. So that's actually not on the list. But that's the leftover that we try to accrue, or we tried to show to DOR that we received, but we didn't, because it was just timing. We're waiting for the grantor to send that money to us. So those are all reductions. So we had $87,000 of reductions. And then this is our overlay. They add that back in. That's, sorry, that's deferred revenue,
Yeah,
which
deferred
the
revenue.
net between this and this is our overlay. And then that's the 4.1
Right, that, we
million.
come up with this for this year.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's their calculation. It's how
Okay,
they,
just-
come up with it. We can, yeah. Yeah, and then they do the same thing for retained earnings. There's a similar calculation for water,
That's
sewer,
right.
waterways.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and the
I
rest.
saw.
Yep.
Thanks,
Proceed with the motions?
sorry, yep.
Proceed with the motions, feel free. The only thing I might point out, Jim DeCina's formula is, no, we have a new formula.
We've added to
I
it.
just want to make sure everyone is aware of that.
We started, we've added
We-
several.
But
categories.
that's where it
It's
started.
a new category. 2015, just over 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So the first one here is a 2026 supplemental appropriation number 7. Transfer $99,305 from the general fund free cash to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And Budget and Finance would move to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 7 in the amount of $99,305 from the general fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number noted, to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Transfer in from general fund, account number as noted. And this is per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy, and I so move.
Second,
Any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye from Tony?
Aye.
any
Haven't
opposed?
signed him yet.
Checking to see if you're okay with ending the meeting when you're done, if you're okay with the technology aspect of that.
Between us, we should be able to close.
Very good.
I
Just
can-
checking.
I can take the recorder
Yes, done.
Yeah.
I was in charge of that.
and the forms.
As to, did I hear,
Alex is here.
did I hear a unanimous approval?
You did.
Tony?
No opposition.
Yes, I said yes.
Okay, you said a soft yes. The motion passes 3 in favor, 0
Alex
opposed.
is also here. There he is.
Hi, Alex.
So we have Mike and Chris will see you join this too.
Alex's office is getting renovated.
We'll get them soon.
Look at the wall.
Okay, moving on. 2026 SA number 8, which is a transfer of $1,003,214, $1,003,214 from general fund free cash to capital project stabilization fund. And the committee recommendation, Budget and Finance would move to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 8 in the amount of $1,003,214 from the general fund undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number as noted. The capital project stabilization fund transfers in from the general fund, account number is noted as per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy, and I so move.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I heard you that time. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Item number SA 9. Transfer of $601,928 from the general fund free cash to building maintenance stabilization fund. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 9 in the amount of $601,928 from the general fund undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number as noted, to the building maintenance stabilization fund. Transfers in the general fund, account number as noted per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
second,
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. That's 3 in favor, 0 opposed. SA number 10 is a transfer of $802,571 from the general fund free cash, this general stabilization fund. Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 10 in the amount of $802,571 from the general fund undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number is noted, to the general stabilization fund. Transfers in from the general fund, account number is noted, for the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. SA number 11 is a transfer of $401,286 from the general fund free cash for the miscellaneous paving work CP fund. And Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 11 in the amount of $401,286 from the general fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number is noted, for the miscellaneous paving work capital projects fund, transfers in for the general fund, account number is noted, per the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. 2 more. SA number 12 is a transfer of $200,643 from general fund free cash to the OPEB trust fund. And Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve a supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 12 in the amount of $200,643, a mere drop in the bucket, from the general fund, unlimited fund balance, free cash, account number is noted, to the other post-employment benefit or OPEB trust fund, transfer in from the general fund, account number as noted, and this is to partially fund the city's OPEB unfunded liability. And I so move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3 in favor,
We
0
didn't say
opposed.
any.
There are only 3 of us.
Is that okay?
Number 13, transfer of $200,643 from the general fund free cash to special education stabilization fund. And I move to recommend, the Budget and Finance recommend that the City Council approve supplemental appropriation 2026 SA number 13 in the amount of $200,643 from the general fund, undesignated fund balance, free cash, account number is noted. The special education stabilization fund, transfers in from the general fund, account number is noted, for the capital plan funding and free cash distribution policy. And I so move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. That
It
completes
doesn't need 2 other ayes.
that. So we're on to item number 3, which is a memorandum from our chief financial officer, Connor McCorkle, regarding a loan order request in the amount of $3,320,000 for repairs to the superstructure of the St. Peter's Landing and Marina. Back to you, Connor, or DPW, or whomever.
I think Greg Captori might
Greg.
say first about the project.
Popular here. Welcome.
Good evening. There we go. Sorry about that. Greg Kadamtori, Planning Director. So Connor prepared a memo that kind of gives you the actual movement on this grant. But it was part of that submission also included a memo that I drafted, which included the full grant acceptance package. So we applied to the Seaport Economic Council for construction funding for the rehabilitation of the St. Peter's Landing and Marina. It was kind of a natural progression. The Seaport generally likes to see projects go through design and feasibility and then into permitting and construction. And so we followed the playbook, and we were successfully awarded $2.6 million in the award letter that was also in the packet, signed by the Lieutenant Governor. And there is a matching component to this. It is generally about a 25% or 20% match. We did try to, get as much funding as possible. The award was the 2.6. It would have been a little bit higher. They have only so many projects that they can award. But this was definitely one of the ones that received the largest amount. So it's, at this point, this would fund the final design documentation, the final permitting of the project, the bidding, as well as the construction. And the city's match would be about $720,000 estimate to the 2.6 for the full project to be completed. Successful award because, this is something that's been identified in our harbor plan. And we know that we have infrastructure that's in need of revitalization. We don't own a lot of property on the waterfront. This project, as well as looking into the marina also at 65 Rogers Street, I-4C2, has also been in the works to try to see what we could do. We advanced this one more quickly, and we're very pleased that we were supported by the state. So I can answer any other questions. I can also put up a picture if you'd like.
Councilors?
The 720, I'm not sure this is for you, Greg. Is a loan? Is a bond?
We're planning to sell a 10-year bond.
You said the permitting's in process, so they started chapter 91 proceedings?
So GZA is our contractor. Also on the call, I want to recognize one of the Tony Grosses on the call is actually Chris Lucido, and Mike Hale is also on the call. So what the last phase of support from Seaport brought us through all the documentation for permit submission. GZA has also already had outreach with DEP on the Chapter 91. We are we're basically replacing in kind. So that is just kind of acting on the maintenance and improvement of an existing license. But there will still need to be conservation permit. And I mean, it's fairly limited in terms of permitting that's required.
The new materials won't splinter as quickly.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. This has definitely been in pretty good need for a while. And, there was the possibility to try to look at potentially phasing this and doing certain elements of it. The wharf in particular is in pretty rough shape. It's been very difficult to maintain from Public Works. And, once you start getting into it, it makes much more sense to go for the complete project. So it'll essentially be all the infrastructure will be renewed.
Okay, so and I've looked at the plan and your construction, the GZA estimate and all. Can we determine if all current uses will be continued, such as trap storage, dory tie-ups, that kind of existing uses? Are we?
I'm not suggesting that there's any change in use. Chris Lucido is on here. He helps, he manages the marina. But it is essentially, obviously during construction, there'll be some displacement. This would hopefully be a late fall to winter construction season that, Mike can speak to that, to minimize the time when it's in most use. But I don't know that there's any changes to how it's being operated. Nothing is part of that proposal. It's really just about the construction.
And I know that there's a fee basis here for these vessels that tie up. I would like to think that because this is a grant and the city should be investing in our infrastructure, that there won't be any fee increases to the charges to the vessels once this is in place.
That's something for the Waterways Board. I mean, again, we're just talking about trying to rehabilitate this marina.
Public landing float. I'd like to note that these concrete floats sometimes come in different height profiles, and it would be really beneficial to keep these to low profile floats for small dinghy tie-ups. The Harbor Master floats, the high profile floats, you can't comfortably get a boat probably in an 18 feet dock there. The fenders don't work, your rail is under the deck, you're against concrete. So I'd really like to keep this public landing at the same profile or height or elevation out of the water as it is currently for, again, smaller boat use. I don't know who has the construction document only said concrete floats. So if we can maybe note that.
We can certainly relay that to GZA, our designer.
And then there were several notes here about water utilities allowance. Are they going to bring water service to this commercial marina through this project or not? Does anybody have any idea about
On
that?
the plan, but I certainly hope it doesn't.
Never mind, we don't listen to you.
I do not want water being pumped into the harbor.
Okay, what, water utility is a question at the moment.
I can't answer that specifically. I'd really look to Chris and our designer on that.
I don't hear Chris chiming in. Any plans for additional lighting in this area for safety?
Well, it's in the plan.
Okay, that's in the plan. There was a reset of brick over to the right here. Is that city-owned property or is that on private property? That seems,
All the improvements would be on the public property.
right. Safety ladders. Can we make sure that there's at least one, if not two, safety ladders included in this project? I'm not sure, again, that the schematics are that granular. Chris?
You're talking safety ladders to get on the float if you go overboard?
Yep.
Not onto the pier, but onto the floats?
Wherever you think you need them, but right now there are no safety ladders in this vicinity at all.
We can certainly talk about that with GZA and
I would think
and the
that was
planner.
yeah, safety requirement. They're also in this document of the engineer's cost estimate. They,
Sorry. It's dated 2025.
you know what? It says September 23. 9/23.
The last one.
Yeah, there's a revised cost estimate that went with the grant application.
Oh, September 25. Well, there's phase 1 and phase 2, and that's not included in the update. This was the most recent thing that was sent. And my question would be, is this phase 1 or phase 2 indicative of construction improvements in the order in which they'll be undertaken?
They're irrelevant now.
Okay.
So in the
Phase
original
1 and phase 2 was in the original thing. They are no longer relevant. It is just that one sheet that has.
Yes.
what's going to happen now. So that's it. Phase 1 and phase
Yep.
2, that was if we wanted to break it out,
Okay.
as he said earlier, to
Right.
affordability,
All right, so
fix
they're
this
not phase,
piece.
all right,
Yes.
gotcha. The vessel relocation, do we have a plan for that during construction?
We are not at that point yet. There's a bit of work to get to even the bid process, but that'll be all something that will be identified before the bid.
Okay, and all right, and the only other thing I could maybe note is, and I know we're far away from this now, the commercial marina here, being in the DPA and MI, historically had a hoist. It became a victim of recreational public access, which was when the recreational float got moved in. I had hoped that GZA could look at some kind of reconfiguration, even if it reduced that footprint of the recreational side and increase and put a hoist here. This is a water dependent industrial area. There are more than just these vessels at dock here that utilize this for trap hauling and displacement back into the water. It would be really justified to have a hoist for a commercial marina. Comment, no question. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up on Patty's question. At this point, there's no hoist in the scope or spec.
Not that I saw.
No hoist there now, so.
Traditionally, there was a hoist. It was a victim of gentrification. We lost a commercial asset for recreational public access at this location. That's the history of it. I understand it's gone. I know they took it out, I would like to advocate for a hoist to recreate a commercial use and atmosphere down there. The tourists would love it. Thank you.
I recall discussing it in the past when it was still there before it was demoed and moved, so, yeah.
I just feel obligated to mention it
No, I think it's a valid
and
point.
try to sell it.
We
Everyone,
can't reduce the.
we could figure it.
That's,
Look,
So, I think point
a
up.
hoist would be
Yep.
quite
your.
apropos in a commercial marina.
No, I think that's a valid point. I appreciate you raising
Thank
it. And it's appropriately noted. Any other questions before I read this motion?
No, sir.
Counselor?
No, the plans are pretty comprehensive. It comes with pictures and captions, and tells you what the degradation of the place has been.
Yeah.
I have a question. I do have a question. Mike, this is for you, since maintenance is gonna fall, or you and Chris, because I guess Chris can also handle this with our mess ups. Since we're gonna have all new foundational work, or all new stringers, pilings, pile caps, all that. It's going to be, and these are going to be, it's 2x6 decking that's going on there. If any damage happens to decking, it'll be fairly simple to replace any damaged is what, but I just want to make sure that I'm not mistaken in that assumption. But either Chris or Mike.
So the question, Counselor, is on the dimensions of the lumber?
No, on replacing it, let's say, one gets cracked or, lifts up, just replacing them, because now we're gonna have all new stringers and things. It'll be easy. Replacement will not be as difficult as it is currently, because we actually have firm footing underneath.
Yeah, currently, I mean, Chris's crews and our crews have struggled to find any bearing for the fasteners to hold down that decking material, because the stringers are in such poor condition.
So with this replacement, if we do have damage to a few decking planks, that problem will not be in existence, and we'll be able to replace them.
That problem will not be in existence for the foreseeable future. Then we'll get back to this point at some point, when none of us are doing this anymore. So this will take a long.
Right.
This
Yes,
is a
exactly.
generational project, another generational project.
Yeah, exactly.
Could I just follow up with a question about the material for the decking? Because I have such a clear memory of escorting Deval Patrick on that walk and tripping on the sprung planks and splinters. What is the net decking material to be that we're putting in?
I believe it's a tropical hardwood IP. IP. It's very, very hard. It's what you would use in this setting, versus that pressure treated material that's there today. I apologize, I can't turn my camera on because I think I'm logged in under Tony. It won't let me turn my camera on, so I'm not trying to be.
All right, we don't
I'm not
need to
trying to
see
hide.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mike.
So
Any
there
other
is an
questions?
example of that decking material right beside Oak to Ember. So a little portion of that walkway is the same material. Correct.
Right. Sounds wonderful. Other than I
Yeah.
think it's pressure treated spruce or something right now, but
It is, and which is now, since it's all such fast growth.
chunk.
I would like to ask if, I don't know who
You stuff better.
got this estimate, but the gangways, do they know what type of gangways they're
30
looking at?
grand.
What,
They're 30.
right, number 18 and 19, $30,000. Do you know what that material is expected to be for that kind of number?
Find out when the bid comes in.
I believe it's aluminum, just the same design as what's there.
Oh, then I have another point to make, that the gangway for the public landing actually is wider than the one at the commercial landing. Can we have those reversed so that the commercial landing has a wider gangway And the public landing has a more narrow gangway, which is more appropriate for that. And aluminum gangways, I don't think you're gonna come in with those numbers, but. And I assure you, it's gonna be more, not less.
Noted.
Yes, duly noted.
I'll go ahead and read the motion if there's no other questions. Budget and Finance moves to
Not
recommend
in the
the city.
plan, they're not.
Budget and Finance moves to
Gangways,
recommend that the
smaller,
city
above
council
the
approve
plan.
the loan order as follows.
No. In there.
Order that the city of Gloucester appropriates $3,320,000 to pay costs associated with the repair and of the superstructure of St. Peter's Landing and Marina, including but not limited to replacement of landside pilings, topside planking, the seawall interface and dockage, including costs incidental or related thereto. To meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The mayor and any other appropriate official of the city are authorized to apply for, accept, and expend any grants or gifts that may be available to the city to pay costs of the project. The amount authorized to be borrowed by this order shall be reduced by the amount of any grant or gift payments received prior to the issuance of bond or notes. And further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under 44A of the general laws, any or all of the bonds authorized by this order, and to provide such information and to execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes. I would just ask if the amount of the city's match needs to be noted or not. And I so move.
Second.
I would just like to state for the record that in the plan of the rebuilding of this, the ramp for the commercial side is 4 foot wide by 32 feet long, and for the recreational side is 3.5 feet wide by 36 feet long.
So noted.
Where did you get that detail?
Off the plan.
You can read that like that plan. I mean, I can sort of see it.
No, the plan I sent you.
That's what you sent me.
No, I also sent you. Oh, here, you can read
Yeah,
it off of this plan.
Thank you. Oh, those numbers are way too messy.
You can read it right there.
Thank you. Okay, I got it.
Any other questions?
I think currently really works. So thank you for that clarification.
It would be, but this is what they're building.
Yeah. No, great.
So the motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Enthusiastically, I'm excited for this infrastructure improvement.
And I'm excited for your involvement overseeing the specifications. Working with the city's team.
I would ask a question, just. Yeah. You tiptoed here. In general, I know 3.3, if you can't get all this work done for that number, what happens? Who decides what at that
We come
point?
back here and have that discussion.
Okay, thank
You can't borrow more money than we just told them.
The motion.
you. No, I understand that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Have a fantastic evening.
Thank you. See you Tuesday.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Moving on to a simpler acceptance of donations for veteran services. Our Veteran Services Director is requesting our acceptance of donations to support the Cape Ann Veteran Services in the amount of $134, but the dollar amount looks different from that, what I see here. What I see is $1,625, so that may be a typo. The Budget and Finance moves to recommend the City Council accept various cash donations under Mass General Law 4453A to support veteran services in the amount of $1,625 from the following members and business partners in our community who are the First Parish Congregational Church, Joanne Sanfilippo, and Ed Camo, for a total of $1,625, and I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. We have dealt with item number 5 on the agenda previously with the superintendent of schools and Gloucester Education Foundation. Next item on our agenda would be a memorandum from the Community Development Director requesting City Council approval of the Forbes School project voted by the Affordable Housing Trust.
Good
Alex.
evening. Good evening, counselors. So this is a project that's a partnership between the city's grant division and the Affordable Housing Trust to make repairs that were urgent to the Forbes School Affordable Housing Development, which is a home ownership deed restricted affordable housing development serving low and moderate income households. So there was damage to the facade that caused this to be something that needed to be addressed very quickly. So what we worked out was for the city's housing rehab program to cover the total cost of this project, which is $195,000, and then have the trust reimburse the program for half of the project cost. So that's an overview of how it worked. The trust voted to approve this, and now we're seeking city council approval. And the manager of our housing rehab program, Peter Williamson, is in the room with you to answer any questions on the details of the Forbes School project, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Alice. Any questions? Questions for Peter?
No, I'm sorry though, I sort of missed that. Is it 100 plus 95 for a total of 195?
Of which we're funding.
Well, the total originally was 195.
Okay, thank you.
The Affordable Housing Trust offered to reimburse 100,000. Since that original amount, we have to replace the doors. So CDBG will be, you have to put in some more money.
That's where you get the rest of your money. Thank you. So the 95 plus your door expense comes out of CDBG and this comes out of your.
Right.
Thank you.
Councilor Gross, any questions?
No, thank you for asking those questions.
Thank you, Alex. Peter?
Parking ban.
Budget and Finance moves to recommend that the City Council approve under Article 6, Section 2-610, Brand 3A of the Gloucester Code of Ordinances to grant $100,000 of the Gloucester Affordable Housing Trust Fund to complete emergency facade repairs at the Forbes School located at 37 Washington Street. I so move.
Second.
Beautiful building. Any further
I remember
discussion?
I got a CDBG grant when they were housed in that building.
We have to maintain every affordable unit we can.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
we don't want to lose the affordability aspect.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Next up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you, Alex.
I guess.
Suzanne, I guess the next one's on you and Rocco, relating to a petition from my friends on Stillington Drive. And their appeal to the city council to accept and lay out in public way. And this has been continued from January 22nd of 2026. And we're eager to help them do it, right?
Yes, thank you. So in your packet, we have a memo from the mayor and a memo from me providing an analysis of the facts pursuant to the ordinances, which is 21-1. So the city council adopted section 21-1, setting forth the criteria that the city council should consider in terms of whether it will accept a private way as a way. And in that memo, I set out the specific criteria and then provided you with the facts that were provided by the applicants, the petitioners to accept this. And we can go through that tonight, or I can answer any questions that you have about this. And then also in your packet is a memo from Mike Hale, the DPW director, stating that the street does not meet the standards in section 24A3.
And this is,
If this would be helpful for me to go through that.
well, I just want to
Okay.
make the point that this is in disagreement with the arguments made by the petitioners that this is a pre-existing accepted public way.
Exactly. So, so the history of this is there's been a number of conversations going back and forth between the petitioners and the city. And the petitioners were taking a position that this was a accepted public way. And so
Historically.
historically. So that's very specific as to the requirements for an acceptance of a public way. And I provided the two legal opinions from Rocco DeFilippis, the Assistant General Counsel, regarding that analysis of the history. And it's very specific, and I think the letters that I provided you were specific enough to show you that this has not been formally accepted as a public way by the city of Gloucester. And that is why the petitioners now have submitted this petition to you to actually ask you to do that in a very, formal way.
You want to introduce yourself? And then question or comment?
Hi, I'm Alicia Devine. I live at 250 Western Avenue, here in Gloucester. I live on the corner of Western and Waterside Lane, which used to be Woodside Lane, Freshwater Cove Road, etc. It's pertinent that we bring in Freshwater Cove into the discussion, because Freshwater Cove has the oldest, one of the oldest roads in Gloucester. Samuel Champlain came in 1606, and that's where he would get his fresh water from the springs there. And he would go up Waterside, across from Western, up Stellington, which is really Quarry Road, and then to the springs up there. And then later uses was they harvested granite within Ravenswood Park and bring it down through, back down to Freshwater Cove and on the vehicles, ships and coming out. They had several wharfs down there. So it was a very active community, Freshwater Cove Village. That's what it was called. It was very active with fishermen and commerce because Old Salem Path Road went through Ravenswood. And just want to pass around this picture. Walgreens cheated me out of 4 pictures because I did have it for all of you guys. I just wanted to pass around that picture as to what that was Fitchie Lane, what it looked like way back then. And I'm bringing this up because when you look at deeds and records and identifying whether it's identified as a public way or private way back then, they did not have the resources, formality as we have today, as far as recording instruments. Everything was written out as such. The so-and-so homestead by the big flat rocks located in the pasture. And that's what you will see in the documents. We have deeds going back into the 1700s that refer to Quarry Road as being a public way. Waterside Lane is a public way. Years and years ago, I lived there for 28 years. I'm also a trail steward in Ravenswood. Years ago, we all had green signs. And then one day everybody came home and some of the people in the city saw that they had blue signs. And Waterside Lane had a blue sign. And that's when I established and proved that Waterside Lane was a public way and Stellington, AKA Quarry Road, was a public way. And then down the line, the city did maintain it. It's plowed. I remember going back to 1977. That's when I was going up Quarry Road to get to Stellington, to get to Ravenswood. But the DPW, I would encounter them every now and again, filling in the potholes.
That happened everywhere though back then.
Right. And, but the main point is that Quarry Road, Attorney Rocco DeFilippis and yours, Suzanne Eden, You cited that you could not find Stillington Drive as referenced in the maps, deeds, etc. And or city records. And the reason is because it wasn't Stillington Drive. It was Quarry Road. There's a picture that for you guys, and I do apologize, this is Walgreens. That you will see on this map, Old Test House Road. Now, it wasn't referenced as Old Test House Road. It was referenced as Old Salem Road. And that was the only road that really could get you to Salem. And you could not go up Western Avenue past John Hammond's original house by Buzzwell Pond. The only way that you could get around to the other side is to go up Quarry Road, which connected to Salem Road, Old Salem Road, and then it brought you down to where Bond Street. And just because now that the Old Salem Road is not used because the new Western Avenue Route 127 at the time replaced it, and more people were using 127 because cars actually were driving through Old Salem Road and down Quarry Road and down to Waterside Lane. Just because they're not using it and it's pretty much defunct, doesn't mean it's not a public road. It doesn't mean that Quarry Road is not a public road. Just because a portion of it is not used. I know in the argument, map symbology, symbolism was brought up. And the way that maps were made back then is just pretty much drawings with little bushes, couple landmarks, and it did not specifically cite streets and roads that were the public and commonly used. There were no houses built in the middle of Old Salem Road. There were no houses or barns built in the middle of Quarry Road, nor were they built on Waterside Lane, which is Woodside Lane. Because people recognized it back in the 1600s, all the way through the 1800s, and even into the 1900s, that those roads were common public established roads of the villages back then. I know in your arguments you cite that there were different names used pertaining to Stillington Drive, and that the deeds did not evidence that it existed. Well, here's an example of how different roads back then, Woodside Lane, which is now Waterside Lane.
You need to keep that one. You can keep that.
Well, I was gonna,
Yeah, that's your today.
that Woodside Lane was named differently on different documents. And then on other documents, you see Waterside Lane. Then you see Woods Lane. Then sometimes you'll see Freshwater Cove Lane. Freshwater Cove was a public dock. It was a public wharf where the fishermen and the lobstermen came in. And the city owned it back then. And the city owned those
Is
wharfs.
this on the other side of Western Avenue?
Yes, the city
so that-
owned those wharfs.
Still a landing.
I know, but this doesn't have Stillington.
It's still a landing down there.
Doesn't have Stillington on.
And
What is
and
this
the,
picture?
and the reason why I'm showing you that is because part of the argument is well, you know, there were different names and all these different names, and it's inconsistent with the evidence on the deeds. And this is my explanation, and the historians, Electra Trich, who did a whole presentation at the Cape Ann Museum about Ravenswood and that whole area. That's the way it was, and it just carried through from deed to deed. Some deeds have it, some deeds don't. I just happened to look up Quarry Road. Because
I don't understand.
it doesn't, the claim is that it didn't exist. Well, it does exist. And just because the city records do not have anything about it, I mean, they must. Because they changed the name because it was conflicting with Quarry Street. And the emergency vehicles were getting confused. It was Peter Buswell that suggested, hey, let's name it Stellington Drive. And that's why you won't see Quarry Road on a lot of the documents, but you will see it. And I do have electric bridge documentation. You will see it on maps today. That's my map Carter. You will see it on MapQuest. The road exists. It's a public road. A number of sources.
I'm gonna have you still stop there, I think, right now.
Yeah.
This is not really a public hearing, so it's
All right.
at my discretion for you to speak.
Okay.
Well, I do have a question as to why you and the petitioners think that there's a benefit to becoming a public road. The city can't pave roads that it has. It doesn't meet our criteria, and we would not do any repair on Quarry Road, whether or not it was.
The thing is that you guys received a figure of $166,000. That's incorrect. And
For doing what?
to fix the road and to just, the whole argument is like, oh, well, this isn't a public road. And so, we're not gonna take care of it. We're not gonna pay anything. And then a figure of $166,000,
Where'd you get that figure from?
Mike Hill forwarded that figure.
Okay, so that was a guesstimate from the paving.
And I have actually quotes from, 3 paving companies.
Yeah, they live by different rules than the city does.
Well,
And
there was no seller paving that, paved Waterside Lane.
And they do it,
City has a contract for certain rates, private contractors.
I think one of them is no seller.
Prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage, and they have a standard of.
One of them is no seller,
see.
and he came up with, and the other 3 people came up with, quotes of under 60,000.
Again, I'm gonna ask you to
What this quote?
say thank you very much. I think that we're gonna have a further discussion based on our city's general counsel's recommendation of the situation.
Well, I'm here.
I live on a private road also, and
It says that.
we can't get the city to pave it. We paved it ourselves, us and our neighbors. I think that it may well be that.
My deed says, on my private road, says that it ends at the road. Just like your deeds do. It says, that does not make my road public,
Your deed says that you,
goes up to the road.
to the middle of the road,
No,
to the curb.
Yeah.
And
the private roads.
and the private, because typically it goes to the
My
middle.
survey goes to the actual.
I think in our case, it's a 40-foot right of way. All the butters share responsibility.
So
Because-
all
because-
part of
private
it's a-
roads seem to be a little different. I think 3 of us have different conditions here.
Right, I mean, the deeds could be different, yes, but mine says that it actually on the survey, it's 10 feet back from the paving. Is where my property starts.
I'd like
But that's
to
the common road for that street.
I'd like to allow Suzanne to finish her presentation,
All right.
and if you have any questions for Suzanne.
So I understand what the argument is as to why it is, but the important thing to, yes, thank you. But the important thing to keep in mind is that public ways are created by act of the city. And there needs to be evidence of that, of the city council accepting that as a public way. And that is what we don't have here. And that's what this process, this petition is providing, is that ability for the city council to consider whether or not to accept this as a public way. But then we have that criteria that has to be met in order to do that.
So, but back
It is met.
back in colonial times, the town had to accept a private petition to create a private road. All ways had to be accepted by the town. So even though it was private, on their own private property, they wanted to make a thoroughfare or a way, they had to go get permission. And then that's what's in these deeds, is that there was that acceptance of a way, but they had to do it all ways, private or, even on farmland, cutting through with their own farmland, they had to go to whoever was the town, leadership at the time, whether it was on the, the green at the Rotary or, wherever it was. But that's where, that's my understanding, is that that's what happened during that's how that law worked at that time.
Right, which is different than saying it's a public way, right? It's a very fine point of the law. And the reason for that is because of the liability that comes with a public way. Once the city accepts something as a public way, lays out a public way, then there's actually an exercise of that domain, and then we're responsible for it. And it's just, it's an ownership, we're taking ownership of something. So obviously there has to be that specific act of the corporation in order to do that versus either people traveling on a private way or just accepting something, acknowledging something as a private way. So that's a very specific act. And we did research this, this
Quite extensively.
yeah, quite extensively and a number of times. And so, there is no evidence whatsoever. This was laid out.
That's correct, though.
Well,
Tonight
I
before us
disagree with you.
But before us is not that issue. Before us is accepting it through our processes, through the petition process. Before us tonight is, are we going to accept it through that process? Not, we're not debating, 300-year-old history. We're debating on whether or not we accept it through our process.
Exactly.
Because we're not, the city's not convinced that history holds.
I agree that's what we're voting on this evening, but I'd also like to make the point that based on the funding formula from the state and based on our financial situation, the city is unable to pave many public ways that are publicly documented as public ways. And there's a long list of years and years of way prioritizing for the city's municipal ways, of which there are about half of them. So, my experience helping people go through a betterment paving process to try and get their private ways paved with or without the city's help through a betterment petition is that you and your neighbors would be best served. My experience in hire a private contractor and have it paved at your own expense when you are others, but that's not what we're really talking about here. We're talking about the motion for us is whether or not this committee is going to recommend to the city council that we accept and lay out a Stone Drive as a public way under Article 1, Section 1A, 3E, C, E of the Gloucester Code Ordinance, and that's the motion before us.
But if I can't present,
There'll be a
The
public
argument
hearing at the city
against it?
council.
well, okay,
Next Tuesday.
all right, well, I just want to make you guys.
So, but
aware.
also whoever is
Your lead presenter,
your lead person gets 15 minutes.
and then
Other people get 3 minutes.
I just want to make sure you guys know
You made
what's
a
going
very,
on.
you made a very strong case. You've spent a lot of time and resources researching it, and so is our legal department. So
Well, I am very confident in land court that it would be declared a public way.
city still might not be able to pay
Just
it.
add to what you said, if you're gonna have a presenter, is it still true that the city clerk needs things 72 hours in advance
Yes.
of your
Yeah.
presentation?
Okay.
Just to make sure that you're aware of that. I do have a couple of questions I think that really are in line here. Is Diligent Hall still public, open to the public and access to public?
Private home.
It's a private
It's
home.
private, but it's open to the public, they hold
No,
events.
No longer.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right, so
Ravenswood is open to the public, and every reference on the internet on how to get to Ravenswood sites, you go up Stillington Road to Quarry Road.
okay, and in my very limited experience, has either Attorney Egan or yourself, has this been determined through the city clerk's office that's never been certified as a public way?
That was legal department. Did
That
The city clerk's office. So
That's
the
what you-
legal department worked with the city clerk's office to review the records and the archives. And there were no documents that showed that.
Well, that
Yeah,
only went back to 1971.
Excuse me?
They went, the city clerk's office reported roads and streets off of maps and other various, resources, and that only goes back to 1971. So they don't have,
That's not.
they don't have prior evidence.
But the city
You
clerk.
do have
I
a,
think Suzanne knows what I'm
Yes,
referring
yeah.
to. The city clerk goes and certifies public streets. And back in the 1600s, 1700s, even we have streets that have been certified by the city clerk back to 1752, 59, around there. And if that doesn't exist for this roadway, then I have to accept that it's never been accepted as a
I'd have
public
to
road.
dig over
and
this.
so if
I'd have to
you,
do some digging.
yeah, and if so, if you refer to in what was submitted to the city council, the legal opinion, August 15th, 2024 from Rocco, and that talks about that, what we've looked at, how far that goes back, and whether that is.
I
the city
did try to
clerk's-
read almost everything in there.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
pretty technical.
Yes,
But
yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
But this, because the city can't
Some
even
interpretation.
pave public roads, shouldn't make it all of a sudden, oh, no, we can't pave our public roads, so we're not gonna, make this a public road.
Just
I'm
saying,
just-
I'm not
just
sure
wanna
what
throw
your,
that
I'm not
out
sure what
there.
your benefit would be if you were successful ultimately.
Ultimately, even if it's 10 years down the road, it's- never
It
know.
might be,
With all the
might be 100.
With all the new houses being built and all the taxes.
Well, there's no new houses going up there, we know.
Oh, yeah, the development, by Infernal.
No, I'm talking about Stillington. And another thing is I don't know where the trustees have within their covenants are allowed to give away land, because if this did become a public road, they would have to give up by eminent domain property. I don't know if they have.
They don't own
recognized
the
that.
road. They don't own it.
They own, no, when
They
you,
have portion.
when you, yeah, when you go, when you create, or if a road's accepted public, it's accepted public by a standard, and they're gonna have to give up land on outside the boundary of the pavement.
There's plenty.
Yeah, but they own, it, so
So we will be
could the
having,
trustees give
we
it
will
up?
be
I
having a
don't think
public
so.
hearing with presentations on next Tuesday night. And this Budget and Finance Committee needs now to make a recommendation to the full city council based on what has been presented to us.
Why would this come in front of BNF if there's no?
Because
It's
it
a
has a
financial
financial, has financial obligation if we accept it.
Thank you.
So that's why we have something from the auditors.
So,
And we have very specific criteria for accepting new public roads that are built to subdivision standards of our 40-foot wide, have curbs, have
And that's what,
sidewalks.
that's what
but,
this
but
is.
some public asset, which would be Ravenswood, does kind of.
But that's not their main entrance.
No, I know, but there is,
There's
there's
a-
public
There's a
access,
case.
But,
right,
but it doesn't fit many other.
neither does Lincoln Street, and it has Dollar Cemetery, and that became public just because the cemetery is on it.
How long?
Within the last, my memory, and it's really short.
It's a long time.
No, there is definite precedent.
Before private roads became.
So the motion before Budget and Finance this evening is to move to recommend that the city council accept and lay out Stillington Drive as a public way under Article 1, Section 21-1A3E of the Gloucester Code of Ordinance. Do I have a motion?
What?
Motion's made,
I'll second it.
and I have a vote. All those,
We
all
don't
those,
discuss.
if you'd like to discuss it, or we can have a vote. It's going to go to public hearing, by the way.
I'm very concerned because this is very legal and technical.
And our legal department will spend a lot of resources on exploring it.
I understand, but. And
We're-
I get Suzanne's work or Rocco's work either. I just have
Got
some,
their opinions.
everybody has an opinion until it goes to court. And then the judge kind of judges that.
So,
Well, every action we take could go to court, so.
This is very difficult for me because it was so densely legal. And I did read
and
their
fascinating
side, your
historically.
side. But the city clerk did not certify it. That's pretty, significant.
So the motion's on the table. Any in favor? Hearing none. Any opposed?
I,
Aye.
I'm sorry, we're opposed to moving this forward.
no, it gets moved forward. That's our recommendation.
Thank you.
So we have two opposed and
How are you voting?
No.
3 opposed. So out of it will now move to city council
Yeah.
with a vote from budget and finance of 0 in favor, 3 opposed.
Yep, and so that's next Tuesday. Contact the clerk's office, you know, how to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
And they, you know, if you have anything you want to put up on the screen or anything. Make sure you could I would contact them.
Tomorrow morning, because 72 hours is, I'm not sure she even has that window right now.
Next Tuesday.
There's not 3 full business days. Friday's
Right.
half a day. 72 is
We're close.
just closed tomorrow.
Snow day.
Okay.
So, contact them Monday morning and I will tell them to expect it.
Okay.
You're in contact with your other neighbors and butters there, with
Yeah.
Jerry Ackerman and folks up at the hall.
Donna, Donna.
Sorry.
That's what she was leaving.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
All right, please do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I think it's only.
Go drive some survey. What?
Oh, no, it's not going to stay.
Tony,
No.
just clarification, Lincoln Street's a private way, not a public way.
Okay.
I actually have it on your list, Michael.
I don't, the list is not a good list. Don't,
Yeah, we know.
So that answers that question. Make it private.
No, they bounce around.
Thank you, Mike.
They bounce around.
Thank you, Michael.
Item number 8, which is the last item on the agenda this evening,
Yeah, you say we're just gonna skip by it?
is the memorandum of the city auditor regarding accounts that have expenditures exceeding their
Let's
authorization.
go homework.
And is it starting to snow again yet?
I don't know, but we have a snow day tomorrow.
I don't see any.
They've already closed. I can't believe it.
Well, it does see.
The schools are open and you're closed?
No, schools are closed.
Oh.
Schools are
There's
closed.
not a flake on the
From the
ground.
last time.
It's the ice that they're worried
I
about.
appreciate very much the schedule about the
I know,
private
'cause they,
contractors.
did they have a snow?
No, I got so.
We don't, I mean, that's something we just reported.
Would you like to just give us any perspective on this?
Please do.
I mean,
Have you ever seen it like this before in your experience?
no, so
That's interesting.
yeah, so 2015 is what I experienced.
That was only a one-time event in January.
Yep. And I don't know, this morning I talked to the assistant chief, Chief Willett, and I mentioned to him, I said, if there's any way we, you know, as far as a reimbursement from our last storm, that would be wonderful. You know. But no, I've never seen, this is a record. This is definitely a record, more than 20 years, so. You know, in 2015, there was a 3-year amortization. I don't know if maybe now's the time maybe to start maybe talking to, you know, maybe Senator Tar or something to maybe see if they can do something similar to that, to give us some relief, you know,
We won't be alone or.
yes, yeah. Maybe get that, and the governor, maybe, so the DOR to help us at the end of the fiscal year, because I don't know,
A very,
how many more snows?
But
more snow days.
it's not like we're doing bad management here. We're doing our job. We could leave the streets unplowed, unsalted and unsanded.
Yeah.
People could ice, you know, cross-country ski to work.
But if you recall, every year around June, July, if you remember, you're voting on transfers. And I know a lot of times you have a hard time, you know, going through that and looking outside and it's a sunny day and it's a beach day.
No, we're not.
But, you know, I don't know if we're gonna have enough money this year to take care of all of that. I don't know. Sure. No.
I just,
It's a problem we'll solve when we get there, but I mean,
Yeah.
we only can congratulate the DPW and their
Yeah.
crews doing this such an excellent
Yeah.
job under circumstances.
Yeah, and the amount is growing because the last couple of days I've approved more purchase order increases. So like at the time of this, the snow and ice was in a deficit of about 4.6 million. Now it's over 5 million. So I, you know, for the next report, I only anticipate it to increase.
Counselor, any questions? Counselor Groves?
So are we throwing ourselves at the mercy of the state? Is that what you're saying? When you said talk to Bruce?
Well, no, so It's a tool.
Emergency money.
So I don't know if there's any way that, you know, so for the last snowstorm, I know that they're looking to maybe look to see if MEMA or FEMA will help with some of the last storm. And then also on top of that, last time in 2015, so at the end of the year, the amount that we couldn't come up with, we amortized it over 3 years. Because what happens is, if we don't cover this at the end of the fiscal year, they're gonna take our free cash.
Or
right.
we can raise taxes.
No.
No, we can't.
DLS,
No,
DLS said
No.
that.
no, unless you did that as an override or something like
Yeah.
that.
I think
Which
you're
I
only
don't-
raising it on the recap.
Yeah, we raise it on the recap,
Thank you.
but it's still under Prop 2.5 and, yeah, we can't, yeah, no,
I misspoke.
yeah.
But we did
So
receive
what's the
$300,000 from FEMA.
Last
from
time.
the 2015 storm.
Recap,
Yeah.
Where we calculate the
Eventually.
tax levies, you can absorb some deficits in there as well.
Yeah, but if we spend that money on that, then we're taking away from something else.
Right. It's like you're rolling it to the next year.
So
Yeah, it is.
what do we do? Maybe amortize it over.
Like, that's what I'm saying. So back in
That's-
two
that's
thousand
one
fifteen,
choice.
yes, yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but I mean, you know, because the thing is, like I said, on our financials, it's gonna be a reduction for the full amount. But for DOR, we did amortize it over 3 years. So maybe if we could do something simple, but back in 2015, it was 3.5 million. I mean, we're already well over 5 million now. So I don't know what the answer is. Because maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe if we can get a snow, you know, if we can get a FEMA reimbursement, you know, some help there. And maybe, you know, funding partial of it out of maybe free cash, maybe some of that general stabilization.
And also
maybe-
wear and tear on our DPW vehicles that are involved. I mean, that's hard work on.
Connor, you're coming before us to next meeting, talk about deficit. Is this part of the conversation?
This is a current year deficit, so we're talking about next year's deficit at our future meeting. So we have multiple deficits.
So you're talking, when you come to city council, you're talking about next year's
We're
deficit?
talking about FY 2027's deficit.
Yeah, when you're looking at here, this is the fiscal year 26 is the year now.
What we do, as Kenny mentioned, there are multiple funding sources we're trying to get in line, abatement overlay, releasing some of that.
It's not just one stop
There's levers
shopping.
we can pull to at least make this a little
Yeah,
more palatable. Fund balance is gonna go down no matter what.
Fund balance is gonna go down.
But I mean, also another thing to remember, like when you look at 27 year, because as you know, we hear that every year, you know, why we still budget the same amount? I mean, we could have increased it to 1 million. It still wouldn't
Wouldn't have made no difference.
make no difference.
If we increased it to $6 or $7 million, then we'd be stuck with that set aside in an account we can't access.
You got it,
No, we'd have
You got it,
$5 million
unless you're Boston.
Free cash every year.
Or the
to
state.
be able to spend it
right?
on
So you got all this money tied up in that one account and you can't even touch it.
Right, if you over budget.
Correct.
I read that in DLS, there was some.
Yep.
Formula that it's beyond me, I do admit,
Yep.
but if you underestimate it, then you overspend that estimate. It's better.
It's tied up, yes.
Right,
Then it's tied up.
which is what we've done.
I would, in the absence of a solution, in the face of incoming snow and ice, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
You didn't read this motion.
There's
I
no
would take the
motion.
motion. Oh,
There's no.
Second.
So
Let's think. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If you'd like, no motion, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.